Okay, so maybe I'm the problem here, and feel free to tell me I'm wrong, because I have been wrong in the past and I probably will continue to be wrong in the future. But there are some things about K pop that are just a little off. And no, I'm not talking about the usual shit that non K pop fans used to say was weird about K pop, like this or even this. Because I'm of the belief that even the American music industry has its issues, and I'm sure that that goes for every other country that has a music industry in the world. But with K-pop, that is the only music industry that I can think of that goes a tad bit too far with what some of the fandom likes to normalize. Now, I'm not here to talk shit about a genre that I clearly still very much enjoy, but I'm not about to sit here and just look past the things about it that are just weird as hell. So for this video, we're going to talk about some of the things that I personally find to be the creepiest and the weirdest shit about K-pop. Now, for those of you who might take this video a little too seriously, relax. I'm not here to make you feel bad for being a fan or shit on any of your favorite groups, because this video will be to discuss things from a more general view. So try not to get too salty with me in the comment section, okay? Okay, now let's go. One of the most entertaining pieces of variety content that I've seen many idol groups do is the show Silence of the Idol. I'm sure many of you have already seen this show or are already aware of the concept, but a brief explanation for those who haven't actually seen it is basically the group has to try not to get caught by the host getting out of bed or out of bed in general. When the host is gone, they can make all the noise that they want, and it usually leads to them doing some of the funniest things that can happen in the show. But when the host comes into the room, they all have to go back to bed and pretend like they were asleep the whole time. It's a really simple but silly little concept, so let's just get to the weird shit. Now, the weird shit is this bonus video that usually comes after all of the usual K-pop hijinks. Okay, so I can't read Hangul, and you guys are gonna have to help me out with this because I do not know the official name of this particular featurette, but it's pretty self-explanatory just by looking at the video what it is. And maybe I'm out of the loop and I'm the weird one. But is there anyone out there in the world who finds this entertaining? Like, look at this. We're literally watching K-pop idols sleep. Now, I don't know if any of these idols are actually asleep. They all have full faces of makeup, and makeup obviously isn't the most comfortable thing to sleep in. So these idols are probably not actually asleep, but the concept of it itself is just weird to me. Like, these videos last several minutes long. And who knows how long they're actually filming these videos, either actually pretending to sleep or actually are asleep. I don't know, you tell me. And some of these videos get like many views, tons of views. They're like hundreds of thousands of views on half of these videos. Like, seriously, let me break this down for you guys so you can fully understand where I'm coming from here. Almost 500,000 people wanted to watch Baby Monster sleep for some reason. 500,000 people also wanted to watch IVE sleep for some reason. Am I the weird one for wondering why that is? Okay, so real talk and no shame. You guys can even claim that you're speaking for a friend if you want to in the comment sections, but I really need to know, for anybody out there who actually watch these videos in full and who habitually enjoys them, can you tell me what the appeal is here? Where's the fun? Like, is it like watching mukbangs where you get to pretend that you're having a nice meal with one of your favorite content creators? Or is it like ASMR where it's supposed to be soothing? Like, those two things, even though I also don't really watch a lot of either of those, I get the appeal, and neither of them are really infringing on anything or hurting anybody. So I have no criticism for either of those, but I need to know why this particular thing exists. I personally like my variety content to be funny or to reveal some secret hidden talent that an idol may or may not have, or maybe you can give me a song, a performance of a song that I haven't seen you perform before. But this, I don't know, maybe I can't get behind it. Like, keep in mind that many of these groups have minors. So I need to ask the most obvious question here. Who out there is getting their rocks off watching Shakira from Baby Monster sleep? Because I know it sure as hell isn't just Edward Cullen here. Now, on the flip side, I would like to believe that it's just people within their own age group that are watching these videos, but there's literally no way to know for sure who is actually watching these videos. So I have no idea why these companies are feeding into this type of weird behavior. And what's even more disturbing about all of this is that many of these views are probably coming from the same people. Like they're probably watching these videos over and over and over again because you guys know how obsessive some fans are about keeping their favorite group's numbers high. Which brings me to my next topic. Okay, this is probably one of the strangest ways that I have personally ever seen fans of any fandom act online. Now, I'm not on Twitter a lot because the place is a total cesspool, but every now and again I poke my head in there to see what's happening. And almost every single time that I'm on Twitter, there's some type of unhinged clown fan behavior just happening for some reason. And this is usually around the time of a group's promotion cycle, like following the release of a new EP or a new single. Y'all, we got fandoms on Twitter acting like crackheads for votes, practically bullying and guilting other people within their own fandoms to vote for their group to get a music show win. You would think that they're voting for president judging by all of the crackhead behavior that they're exhibiting. Like, imagine if they actually put this much energy into voting for something that actually mattered. Then maybe the world might be just a slightly better place. We got fans on there talking about boxes of mass shipments of albums that they purchased just to get their group's album numbers up. We have actual stream farms that have people streaming the same song from thousands of devices to artificially inflate a group's numbers. What the hell is wrong with y'all? What are y'all doing? When did listening to music become a second job for some of y'all? Even weirder is that you ain't even getting paid for this shit. I have seen some actual people on Twitter, some fans, who are talking about taking off from their actual jobs and skipping school to stay home and stream. Now, I get that a lot of these fans are probably super young and might not actually have anything to do with their free time, and no, I'm not trying to throw shade in their direction. I'm just being honest and give them some leeway here. However, I'm going to be looking at the literal adults for this particular example. Like, I get y'all wanting your faves to succeed, but y'all, this is seriously unhinged. All of this obsessive streaming behavior kind of waters down so many of the weird ass fan arguments that I see on Twitter. Like, why are y'all having arguments about who is the biggest fourth or fifth gen group right now? So many of these groups' numbers are so seriously inflated by all of the previously mentioned obsessive fan tactics that it's damn near impossible to tell which of these groups' numbers are even legit. We have no way of knowing how big any of these groups' actual fandoms are because they all have a subsect of fans within their fandom willing to go bankrupt by mass buying albums. Even stranger is that some of these albums are going to end up in a landfill somewhere. So you aren't even buying the albums because you genuinely enjoy the music. And you know what? Regardless of how I personally feel about it, it isn't my money that they're spending. And yeah, it isn't my place to tell other people what to do with their money. It's just from an observational standpoint, none of these fan wars about which group is the most successful are even valid half the time. But let's be real, none of these arguments should even be happening anyway. Because why the hell do any of you people even care about how many music show wins, or day sangs, or mama awards that any of these groups get anyway? Their achievements are not yours. You don't get to take home any of these trophies and put them on your mantle. Your name is not being etched into any of these awards. Your name is not on any of these idols' paychecks. Dior and Chanel is calling Jisoo to be their brand ambassador. They're not checking for you. You have absolutely nothing at all to gain from any of these groups' accomplishments. But hey, if you want to spend all of your free time streaming the same two damn songs 200 times a day just so someone else can succeed while you're barely able to pay your bills, then hey, you do you, I guess. Okay, now many of you might think that this next topic is a little nitpicky, and it is definitely more personal to me specifically, but I picked it mostly because I feel like it's just so unnatural. Let me start off by telling you this first, and then I'll get into the real topic. So, Minnie's first solo album came out a couple months ago, and since she is my favorite voice in Idol and also my personal favorite in the producer line of the group, I was really very much looking forward to this album. And she didn't let me down. Almost every song on the EP was very strong, with the two standouts being Cherry Sky and Obsession. And speaking of Obsession, this music video was released for the song, and it was a nice surprise. Why? Because Minnie and Ten were actually in the music video together. Now, this might seem like a simple and unremarkable thing for some of y'all, because there are those of us who have been in previous generations of K-pop where idols from the opposite sex were actually allowed to talk to each other without their fandoms losing their shit. So, seeing Minnie and Ten in a music video together where they not only appear to be in the same scenes, but actually have the nerve to be in close proximity with one another is the most progressive thing happening in K-pop today. Now, maybe it's because Minnie and Ten are older idols and their fandoms are also a little bit on the older side as well. Or maybe it's because they're Thai idols and Thai idols tend to get a bit more leeway that Korean, Japanese, Chinese, or Taiwanese idols don't get. But seeing two idols of opposite sex having a healthy collab with one another without their fans losing their shit over it is very refreshing. Especially when you get female idols like Yuna from ITZY or One Young from IVE who get shit on for literally looking at a male idol for longer than 2 seconds. Cause here's the thing, y'all. I guarantee that these idols talk to each other behind the scenes. They have each other's numbers, some of them are friends, and yes, guess what? Some of them are also dating, and guess what again? There is nothing you can do about that. So all of this kicking and screaming and whining about your faves being in the same room with one another is not going to stop these idols from doing whatever it is they're going to do behind closed doors. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that I need or want female idols bumping and grinding on each other in every single music video. I'm just saying that it would be nice to see two people of the opposite sex have a civil conversation or even a collab with one another every now and again in the future. Okay, so these two topics tend to go hand in hand, and a lot of the times they're usually applied to underage idols, but honestly, it applies to idols of all genders and all ages. Now, since I've kind of already touched on the topic of oversexualization in a previous video, let's discuss infantilization. When an idol's fans take it upon themselves to excuse an idol's bad behavior by claiming, oh, they don't know any better, they don't know what they're doing because they're young and confused, or the agency probably made them do it, or they were just under so much pressure that they didn't know any better. And I'm like, girl, what? Because a lot of this rhetoric is usually and often directed towards idols who are well into their mid to late 20s. And I just don't get where it's coming from. Okay, so I am willing to give some leeway to idols who are under the age of 18. And I agree that technically the human brain doesn't mature until the age of 25. But how far back do you guys want to push the goalpost in terms of holding people accountable for their actions? It would seem to me that the only time accountability matters is when the offense being committed directly affects you. So it's easy to say, well, they didn't do anything wrong when you're not the injured party. But when the scandal infringes upon your particular beliefs or your culture or your way of life, then suddenly you want an apology. Now, look, I get it. Everyone makes mistakes, so I'm not clowning on any idol that has genuinely apologized for their actions and puts forth some actual effort to bettering themselves following a scandal. I also understand that some people on the internet are just vindictive and don't actually want an apology. They just have a bloodlust and they get some type of weird joy out of watching an idol or a group fail. I understand all of those points and more, but making excuses for any idol that's old enough to understand and know better, and I'm talking about the ones that are in their mid to late 20s, and don't even get me started on the idols in their 30s. Cause like, dude, you're literally halfway to 40. If you ain't got your shit together by then I don't know what else to say to you. And when I say everyone makes mistakes, I mean genuine mistakes that sound a little like, hey, I was having a bad day and I lashed out at someone that didn't deserve it and I shouldn't have, so I sincerely apologize. Because that's the kind of mistake that Irene made a few years ago. Do you remember that time that she went off on one of her stylists a couple years ago? Irene was well into her 30s. She fucked up, but she apologized for it. The stylist accepted the apology, and that was that. Though there were still people who gave Irene shit for that, I personally don't think that she had anyone else to apologize to at that point. She made amends with the actual offended party, and she kept it moving. In that case, Irene held herself accountable, despite there being people in her fandom infantilizing her by making up excuses for her fuck-up. An actual adult acknowledges their wrongdoings and holds themselves accountable. And that's not me trying to talk down on anyone, because I have also done and said some pretty rude things to people in my everyday life. I'm not going to sit here and try to act like that I've been the perfect person every single day of my life, because no one on this planet has. However, when you are alerted to something that you have done wrong that you know damn well was wrong, don't try to hide behind your fandom and don't let them make excuses for you. acknowledge the mistake, dissect where you went wrong, and make it known. I personally have a hell of a lot more respect for anyone, idol or otherwise, who holds themselves accountable for a fault. Don't act all confused and look around the room like you don't know what's happening when Soompi comes out with a new article documenting whatever horrible thing that you've done wrong.
And that's all I got, y'all. There were a few other topics that I wanted to talk about here, but honestly, those were topics that I felt might have deserved their own separate videos. There's one super big topic that I didn't touch on here at all, and that topic was honestly so bad that I worried that YouTube might age restrict the video, so I decided to save it for another day, preferably when I figure out how to get that content under the radar. Also, we need to have a very brief talk, y'all. If you want to hear it, then cool. If not, then I guess the video ends for you here, and thank you for watching. For everyone else, let's sit down and have a small talk. Okay, so here's the deal. I have woefully neglected this channel, and honestly, a lot of that is because real life got in the way, but also because I pretty much only started this channel as a hobby, and I didn't intend to treat it like it was anything more than that. I didn't even expect to get any subscribers, but lo and behold, 4,000 of you just decided that I was worth listening to for some reason, and for that I truly thank you. There's also a separate matter of me basically experiencing a bit of K-pop burnout. For several months now, I've been in and out of the community, checking in on my alt groups and only occasionally stopping to see what newer groups were doing. And I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I haven't been super in love with every single thing that's come out in K-pop lately. A couple of newer groups that get honorable mentions for me personally are Kiki, Cat's Eye, if you want to count them as a K-pop group, Rescene, and I guess you can count 50/50 since the re-debut. But other than that, I've literally been listening to older gen groups, and there are very few songs on my personal playlist that came out after 2023. So that's killed a bit of my motivation for the channel, if I'm being honest. However, my older alt groups like Idol and LE SSERAFIM have kept me seated, but the current roster of groups haven't really impressed me that much, and obviously that's just my opinion personally. Also, I've been more obsessed with K-dramas lately, so that's pretty much where my mind and time has been spent anytime I do have free time. When Life Gives You Tangerines and Marry My Husband and Head Over Heels have kept me fully locked in, and that's not even counting the insane amount of rewatches that I've been giving Business Proposal in the last few months. So I've been a pretty bad content creator lately, and I have to apologize for that. You guys have been absolutely great. And I'm talking especially to the viewers who are always here anytime I drop a video. Your comments, your likes, and just your general attention to the channel have motivated me more than anything else ever could. There have been a few times where I even thought about shutting down the channel and just moving on, but making videos as of late have become far more therapeutic for me for some reason. So I've really gotten back into the groove in terms of productivity in the last few months or so. So, with that being said, I actually have some actual videos waiting in the queue for release in the very near future, and I hope you guys will enjoy them. You guys can also most definitely feel free to tell me what you want from the channel, what videos or topics or other groups you want me to cover. Until then, once more, thank you so much for watching.